All right, the U.S. professional football team in Washington, D.C. says it will retire the Redskins name and logo, responding to years, if not decades, of pressure around concerns that the name is a racist slur. It's a stark reversal by principal owner Dan Snyder, who for years refused to even entertain the possibility. But with several sponsors and other financial partners putting on the pressure, the team has finally decided to make a change. Joining us right now is George Pine. He's a founder and CEO of Bruin Sports Capital. Joining us right now. George, great to have you on this day. I can't really think of a team or any parallel for a professional sports team with the level of popularity and profitability like the Washington team to change their name, change their branding. And I'm wondering if you think this is going to alienate the fan base or endear those fans maybe more so to the team.
The issue that you can be on, and that's on the side of being welcoming, of diversity, and making all people feel comfortable and welcome to be a Washington fan. And so today's day and age, which is refreshing, that's the only place you can be. And if there's downside with it, there's downside with it. I think long term it's good for business, and long term it'll be good for the National Football League.
George, you yourself have helped transform some of these big sports brands. You've got experts, a team of experts over with you over the last 3 decades doing this. How does the Washington NFL team now rebrand? What sort of name does it look for? There's plenty of coverage saying how hard the trademark is, and already trademarked Scott is out there. But what does it look to move past this with optimism?
Well, this is a big deal. On one hand, symbols matter today. So I think it's a strong statement and heading in the right direction, but there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of consideration. When we sold a Nextel sponsorship at NASCAR for $950 million, we took 12 months to transition from a tobacco product to Nextel. I don't think Washington is going to have that luxury. So you have to think about all your constituents and try and make the best decision you can. But you really want to be inclusive and welcoming. And this is a strong statement. Look, this is the number 7 most valuable franchise in the National Football League, worth billions of dollars, reacting and wanting to do the right thing here. So I think it's a good thing for society and a good thing for the NFL.
George, talk to us more about the business aspect of this, the licensing deals, a potential new stadium that the team could be looking at. What does it mean from the financial perspective?
The consumer product side is really not a big side, although those partnerships with Nikes and others is important. Where this really is hitting is the intrinsic value of the franchise. So, the Redskins would like a new facility. Well, they're not going to get the public support and funding for a new facility if they're not viewed as inclusive and welcoming to all Americans. Additionally, I think today corporations now are not going to be involved with organizations that aren't welcoming and inclusive. So I think what's driving this from a business standpoint is the desire for a new facility and being welcoming with corporations, along with doing the right thing for the consumers out there. But certainly the sponsors and the new stadium played a role in this decision.
Yeah. George, so I want to get your thoughts on the broader sports world and the potential restart of some of the professional sports leagues. We know the NBA, MLS, were supposed to get started soon down there in Disney World, down there in Florida, I should say. It's not quite certain if that's still going to go off as planned. Where do you see us right now? Do you think the leagues are willing to continue to push forward with the restart of actual play, even though there's still some concerns about players testing positive, et cetera?
Well, I kind of take a step back and say, when you look around the world, when you look in Europe, they're playing soccer, they're playing sport in Australia, New Zealand, they're playing baseball in Thailand. So sports can be played safely and are being played safely in the pandemic. And here in America, NASCAR has been operating for 5 or 6 weeks. Looks by all accounts to be quite safe, going well. Same thing with the PGA Tour, has been competing each week. MLS has started. They had to send 2 teams home and had to cancel a few games. But again, the safety of the players has been first and foremost. So it's been choppy and tricky, but they are moving forward, which I think for the overall sports business is good. And I think for society, it's good to have something to root for and I suppose root against from time to time.
George, going back to the push in the US in particular for racial equality, it's something that you mentioned NASCAR. NASCAR's been tied up within Bubba Wallace coverage. There's also a continuing debate, not only with what happens in Washington NFL, but there's plenty of other teams that still have names that perhaps are suggestive of, particularly offensive to many, particularly Native Americans. I'm interested in how a company now, how a sports team gets ahead of this, looks to make change before forced to by some of its main backers and sponsors.
I think you're going to have to be you can't be tone deaf. You're going to have to be progressive, and you're going to have to be welcoming, and you're going to have to move quickly. In this world that we live in with digital and social media, things and trends are moving quickly. And I think as all Americans, which I think is a good thing, it's time for social justice. It's time to make statements. And as we said, silence is saying something, but symbols say something too. So I think if I was advising a sports team, like you said, Caroline, I'd be out in front of it. I'd be out in front of it because it's good business. It's the right thing to do. It's right for the fans and consumers. But I do think the sponsors and other media partners are going to push that along as well. So I see change coming, and I think change is a good thing. It's about time.